We are glad that good effort is being made to retool, re-engineer the finances of the country.
Youth, job opportunities and wealth creation. President Tinubu unveils Expatriate employment levy scheme.
Inflation could become more persistent in the medium term and thus pose more regulatory challenges.
Monetary Policy Committee hikes interest rates to curb inflation as Senate moves to amend CBN Act.
Symptoms of the disease start with severe headache, stomach pain.
House of Representatives seeks investigation of outbreak of strange disease claiming lives in Gombe State. Hello and welcome to the Network News. I am Olajide Bello. Joining me from Lagos is Adiola Komiakere and of course Musa Bakar standing by for the business news. Remember, you can watch these broadcasts live on our website nta.ng/live and on our other social media handles displayed on your screen. President Bola Tinubu has launched the Expatriate Employment Levy (EEL), a new scheme targeting more employment opportunities for Nigerians and more revenue for the government. The president also unveiled the handbook for the scheme, which is under the Ministry of Interior. State House correspondent Musbah and Wahab reports.
The Expatriate Employment Levy (EEL), a scheme mandating employers who hire expatriate workers to make financial contribution to the nation, got the approval of the Federal Executive Council at the twilight of immediate past administration. But for the Renewed Hope administration, any stream of progressive initiative is welcomed and means to give new hope to Nigerians. The Interior Ministry has picked up the project, cleaned it up and ready to make contributions to the administration's plan to generate job opportunities and revenue to finance growth and development of the country. In its core targets, the scheme is also to ensure knowledge and technology transfer from expatriate workers to Nigerians.
The main essence is to be sure that if you are bringing an expatriate to work in Nigeria, it should be a job that no Nigerian has the skill to do. Balancing of employment opportunities between Nigerians and expatriates. And of course, closing wage gaps between expatriates and the Nigerian labor force by making it more attractive to hire Nigerians.
Beside the revenue that will accrue, I believe the minister, having thought through this, will ensure that if somebody must remain in Nigeria for 10 years, he can't have any excuse not to be able to train a Nigerian to take over that job. Nigeria jobs for Nigeria, that should be the slogan.
President Bola Tinubu considers this scheme as another game changer from the stable of Ministry of Interior to renew the hope of Nigerians.
We are glad that good effort is being made to retool, re-engineer the finances of the country and make growth our hallmark. I've been further assured that the project has the capacity of plugging loopholes and gaps that have bedeviled the country in dealing with security challenges.
But the benefits notwithstanding, for the government still beckoning on foreign direct investments, this scheme must not come at a cross-purpose.
But don't use it as a bottleneck. Don't use to frustrate potential investors. There must be clear line of implementation and effective acceleration of aims and objectives of this program.
And the handbooks to guide this process are now ready with the Nigeria Immigration Service as the implementing agency.
Thank you.
From the State House, Musbah and Wahab, NTA News.
To Labour marches now, the Nigeria Labour Congress has started its two-day nationwide protest here in Abuja. Members of the union marched from the Labour House to the National Assembly protesting economic hardship and insecurity. Labour correspondent Joseph Otsen reports that leadership of the 10th National Assembly assured Nigerians that government is engaging with all stakeholders to address the situation as soon as possible.
They converge at the Labour House as early as 7 in the morning and march through the major roads of the Federal Capital Territory to the National Assembly to press home their demands.
I believe that the President and the federal government will do something, to address this issue.
The Senate President and then the Speaker met. I was with them. We parted around 12 midnight. And all the issue is about bringing solution to the suffering and yearnings of Nigerians. We are at a very critical period that Nigeria is taking a decision that it would be of economic advantage to all of us.
I want to assure you that the leadership of the National Assembly will look into your requests and demands and take swift and prompt action.
In Abuja, Joseph Otsen, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the nationwide protest was replicated across states with members of the union expressing their concerns. Ruth Aguele has a compilation of the protests.
We have acknowledged the receipt of their communication, and it shall form the first issue of discussion at the plenary when we resume.
Relief will be found as soon as possible to ease the difficulty we find ourselves.
Give us the opportunity to sit down and negotiate the minimum wage. And the letter they gave to me, I will pass it on to the President.
I assure you that your message will be transmitted to His Excellency and recommendation will be looked into.
This is a struggle for the whole masses. It's not about workers. It's for the generation of the country.
There is no palliative that will be enough for you. But if we are able to bring back the value of our currency to be stable, the way other currencies are stable.
Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever.
On behalf of His Excellency the Governor, for your peaceful conduct in this demonstration, and we believe these issues are issues that can be processed as soon as possible.
Forward, backward, backward.
This is something that requires government's attention and the attention of the society as a whole.
You mentioned that need to be looked into. We will, by the grace of God, with a clear understanding of the dynamics of time, attend to them in the most positive way.
We pass a resolution to the governor to roll out palliatives, permanent one, to the people of the state.
And the Nigeria Labour Congress has suspended street action for the second day of its nationwide protest. The union suspended the street protest after holding an emergency NEC meeting with reviewed and success of the first day. It described the protest as overwhelmingly successful, thus attained the key objectives of the two-day protest and the first day. However, the NEC resolved to continue the protest tomorrow with simultaneous press conferences across all the states of the Federation by the state councils of the Congress, including the national headquarters. It also reaffirmed and extended the 7-day ultimatum by another 7 days, which now expires on the 13th day of March 2024, within which the government is expected to implement all the earlier agreement of the second day of October 2023 and other demands presented to the National Assembly during today's nationwide protest, after which NEC will meet to decide the next line of action. And from the Red Chamber, Senate has passed for second reading bill to amend the Central Bank of Nigeria Act to make the Apex Bank accountable and efficient to maintain monetary and price stability for economic growth. Also passed for second reading is the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency Act Amendment Bill to strengthen the capacity of the agency at tackling the menace of drugs, narcotics abuse and trafficking. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports on these and other considerations during plenary Tuesday.
The CBN Act Amendment Bill, sponsored by the Chairman and members of the Senate Committee on Banking, seeks fundamental changes to the Act. The amendments touch on CBN's role to stabilize the economy, puts limits on advancements to federal government, tenure of the governor and deputies, budget approval for the bank, and its authorized capital, among others.
The current act made no provision for coordination of monetary and fiscal policies, which is the reason that monetary policies of the bank often diverge from fiscal policies to the detriment of the economy.
We expect a much more vibrant MPC because all the policy measures revolve around the MPC.
5 years will be sufficient for somebody to try his bit and leave for others to take over.
If there will be any need for the government to overdraw its account and you say they should pay within 3 months, that will be too short.
The last time CBN Act was amended was 16 years ago. Bills to amend the NDLEA Act for improved funding, establishment of a drug testing laboratory, and putting in place stiffer penalties past second reading.
Enhance the power of the agency to prosecute drug-related offenses.
To make the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency not only to back, but bite.
We must take this bill very seriously, and we must strengthen the NDLEA in order to fight this proliferation of drugs in the system, to save the future of Nigerians.
Meanwhile, Senate has adopted a motion urging the federal government to introduce food stamps towards addressing food insecurity, as moved by Senate Chief Whip.
Clamor for wage increase and work support cannot alone guarantee a more effective way of addressing food insecurity without introduction of time-tested public assistance program.
If we find a foolproof arrangement to provide for the ordinary Nigerian, if the American government can do it, then we can also do it.
If we have a foolproof system to ensure that only those who need it get this food, it will be very helpful.
The motion from Senator Natasha Adwaga calling for investigation into Ajokuta Steel Company, a national iron ore mining company, was also supported.
Nigeria currently spends about $3.3 billion annually on steel imports, and quite saddened that the nation blessed with abundant natural ore resources, yet plagued with moribund Ajakuta and Delta Steel.
All we do is to pay salaries and wages of staff, supposedly staff of the Ajakuta Steel Mill, and billions of naira without producing not even one single iron.
Senator Muntari Nduze, in a matter of personal explanation, urges authorities to intensify efforts at securing lives in Katsina State, and a minute's silence was observed for those killed by bandits. Senate has confirmed the appointment of Hafsat Abubakar as Director, Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit. President of the Senate brought to the notice of the lawmakers President Tinubu's request to confirm appointments of board members of Asset Management Company of Nigeria, AMCON, and also approve the removal of the Chief Executive of FCCPC, Babatunde Erukara, over inability to effectively discharge duties. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Away from the legislature, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank has further tightened its monetary policy rate by 400 basis points from 18.75% to 22.75% to continue to check inflation. This was the position of the committee at the end of its 293rd meeting in Abuja. Musa Abubakar reports.
This is the first Monetary Policy Committee meeting for the year 2024 and the first for the Central Bank Governor and his newly appointed committee members. With inflation at 29.9% and a volatile foreign exchange market, committee members were concerned but convinced that an enduring output expansion is possible only in an environment of low and stable inflation.
Members considered various scenarios of hold and hike and concluded that inflation could become more persistent in the medium term and thus pose more regulatory challenges if not effectively anchored.
After deliberating extensively in the foreign exchange market, the committee members were certain that the ongoing reform in the FX market will yield a favorable outcome in the short to medium term.
Promotion of a willing buyer and willing seller market, removal of all limits on margins for IMTO remittances, introduction of a two-way quote system, and the broad reforms in the BDC segment of the market to restore stability.
Key financial indicators of the banking system were also reviewed, noting that there is the need to increase the stability of the banking sector through system buffers by recapitalization to improve resilience.
The committee identified non-monetary factors driving inflation, such as the persisting insecurity and infrastructural deficits, and noted the role of fiscal policy in addressing these shortfalls.
Amongst decisions reached at the end of the meeting was cash reserve ratio increase from 32.5% to 45%, asymmetric corridor at plus 100 and minus 700, while liquidity ratio at 30%. In Abuja, I am Musa Abubakar, NTA News.
And we have in the studio to shed more light on the new CBN policy, Director, Institute of Capital Market Studies at the Nasarawa State University, KEFI, Professor Uche Uwaleke. You're welcome to the Network News.
Thanks so much, Olajide.
Okay, Professor, were you expecting the Monetary Policy Committee to tighten its stance?
Yes, that was more like the market consensus. Every one expected tightening on the part of the MPC. But what came to me as a surprise was the magnitude of the tightening. For me, it was an overdose. It can be likened to a patient who is treating an ailment. Your patient is expected to take one pill a day, for, 3 times a day. And then the patient decides to take all of those, at once. So that's the way I would liken it. Not only to increase MPR by as much as 400 basis points, unprecedented, from 18.75 to 22.75, but they also went ahead to jack up the cash reserve requirement, to as high as 45%. So for me, I think it is not one measure that will, help support growth, in any way, even though the target really is inflation.
Okay, while the decision may be important to curb inflation, Don't you think these may further increase cost of borrowing amidst rising cost of living?
Absolutely, you can say that again. See, that's why I said it's an overdose. It's going to increase the cost of funds, cost of capital for firms. It's also going to reduce access to credit, especially now that the government is even trying to, put in place measures to improve the welfare of Nigerians. The president is talking about consumer credit. The president is talking about student loan, and in this kind of environment, the MPC seem to be increasing rates. So for me, that will be countering some of these or trying to roll back some of these initiatives by the fiscal side. So there is need to really coordinate what the fiscal and the monetary sides are doing. Let me also say this: if you look at that communique, the major reasons driving inflation, we are even mentioned there. 4 of them were mentioned in that communique. The first one has to do with security challenges, especially in the food producing areas of Nigeria. The second point mentioned there was high fiscal deficit, again on the part of the government, and then rising cost of energy. The fourth one has to do with exchange rate pass-through. Now, if you look at these 4, 3 of them are outside the control of the central bank. So why does the central bank think it can target inflation or force down inflation by the kind of decision that they took today, considering the fact that 3 of them are outside the control of the central bank? So I was expecting tightening, as I said earlier on, but not by as much as they have done. Remember, they're also meeting next month. What stopped them from maybe increasing by, say, 200 basis points max, and then watching to see what happens until March? What's the situation at present now will distort a lot of things in the economy, and that's not in my view, that's not quite helpful.
Okay, Prof, just before I let you go, looking at the foreign exchange market, it has witnessed a lot of pressure recently, but CBN said it has settled $400 million worth of verified claims to reduce backlog. How do you assess the CBN's efforts to stabilize the foreign exchange market so far?
Yes, again, that's also why I thought they should have been a little more moderate in what they did today, decision they took today, because of the actions they have also taken in the area of the forex market. I think they have taken some right steps in the area of stabilizing the value of the naira, international value of the naira, and also bringing down the exchange rate. Whether it is the issue of removing the limits or margins that IMTOs get, or particularly the recent one, the recent one that has to do with the broad, regulations or guidelines for operations of bureau de change. So that has had the effect of, reducing or calming the market and reducing speculative activity in the market. So I think they should continue in that direction, while also using other tools to mop up liquidity in the system. It doesn't have to be the monetary policy rate. Monetary policy rate is not the only tool that's at the disposal of the central bank to deal with inflation, because it has, as I said earlier on, it has a lot of distortionary impact in an economy if not rightly used.
All right, many thanks, Professor Ike, Director, Institute of Capital Market Studies at the Nasarawa State University, Kefi, for your thoughts on the network news.
Thanks so much.
Let's do some more business with Musa Abubakar. Musa, over to you.
Thank you, Olajide. Meanwhile, the Central Bank of Nigeria says it has a responsibility to protect Nigerians, by extension investors. The Central Bank governor said is achieving this through collaborating with government agencies to rid the foreign exchange market of speculators.
We are concerned that certain practices go on that indicate illicit flows going through a number of these entities, and suspicious flows at best. In the case of Binance, in the last 1 year alone, 26 billion US dollars has passed through Binance Nigeria from sources and users who we cannot adequately identify.
At the capital market is another negative close for the equities market as the All-Share Index shed 1.838% to close at 101,995.21 basis point at the end of today's trading session on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. A total of 280 million shares in 9,141 deals corresponding to a market value of 6 billion naira were traded. Today's data shows 5% decline in volume, 9% decline in turnover, and 8% decline in deals. The current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 55 trillion naira. 123 NGX listed equities participated in trading, ending with 10 gainers and 27 losers. Well, that's it. More reports with Olajide, but after the break.
Thanks for being there. Now to the Green Chambers. The House of Representatives has asked the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare to urgently deploy its personnel to investigate the outbreak of a strange and yet to be identified disease that has killed about 30 persons in Nafada local government area of Gombe State. This is equal to a motion moved by Representative Abdullah El Rashid on the floor of the Green Chamber. National Assembly correspondent Mitari Ben reports on plenary proceedings.
Madam Kumu, please.
Adopting a motion of urgent public importance, the House notes that the strange disease in Gombe State has proven to be beyond the expertise of the state health authorities. It warned that the disease could spread beyond Nafada to other neighboring communities and local government areas if not diagnosed and contained by the NCDC.
The symptoms of the disease start with severe headache, stomach pain, vomiting, and very smelly stool. The disease can potentially halt businesses and school activities across the communities as parents are afraid of sending their children to school due to fear of contracting the disease.
This motion is referred to the Committee on Healthcare Services for further legislative action.
In another motion, the House asked the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria to suspend the implementation of its revised certificate verification guidelines for nurses and midwives. Lawmakers pointed out that the revised guidelines contain stringent requirements that are generating controversy.
The requirement for 2 years post-qualification experience before verification of certificate. Order, please. Order. Unreasonable, arbitrary, and unfair, as it may, among other things, restrict the freedom of nurses seeking education or additional skills and training in foreign universities.
14 bills were read for the first time at Tuesday's plenary, including the Constitution Alteration Bill seeking creation of new states and reduction of local government areas in the country. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
And away from the legislature, though Nigeria is not the epicenter of natural disasters, but necessary proactive measures must be taken to monitor seismic activities. Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, stated this at the inauguration of the Nigerian Geological Survey Agency's Seismic Monitoring Station 5 at Katampe, Abuja. Mie Ogidi reports.
Details of the nation's topography show that Nigeria is from a privileged background, not much fear of any alarming underground disaster. But nature cannot be predicted, so contingency arrangements need to be made. And this Nigeria Geological Survey Agency Seismic Monitoring Station within the premises of the ASO Radio and TV Katampe Abuja is one of such contingency measures to keep an eye on the movement underground. The project excites the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, as he inaugurates the center with promises of more.
When there is a tremor here and this equipment records it,
the international institutions responsible for monitoring would also be able to gauge what's going on in Nigeria and would also be able to extrapolate with other adjoining countries, So it's the best thing that could have happened to Nigeria. We will expand the scope to cover other parts of Nigeria so that everywhere, at every angle, we'll be able to monitor seismic tremors and activities in this country.
If we are able to densify the whole country, the information we gather from our seismic stations, we will use this in planning so that we make predictive analysis of possible events that may happen in the country. When we do this, we'll be able to talk to agencies such as NEMA and so on to plan ahead if there will be any devastating event that we got.
This is the 5th Seismic Monitoring Center by the Nigerian Geological Survey Agency. Mia Ogidi, NTA News.
And to the oil and gas sector, President Bola Tinubu is urging energy experts converging in Abuja for the 7th edition of the Nigerian International Energy Summit to leverage the platform for robust engagements that will reposition the oil and gas sector. The president, who was represented by the Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, is emphatic that decisions made by the summit will make Omar energy security for decades to come. Lydia Sampson reports.
Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, who stood in for the president, says the theme is apt and in line with the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu aimed at shaping the energy landscape towards greater profitability.
As we stand at the crossroads of the 21st century, it is imperative that we reevaluate our energy policies to ensure a sustainable and secure future. The decision to remove petroleum subsidy is a challenging one, but it's a step that we must all take to secure our energy future and foster economic growth and development.
OPEC Secretary General Haitham Al-Hayes revealed that OPEC anticipates a bright future for Africa's oil industry with substantial opportunities for growth.
Nigeria's role in OPEC's past and present is a tremendous source of pride. But we are also acutely conscious of Nigeria and Africa's critical role in the future of our organization and the energy industry more broadly.
For both the Ministers of State Resources, Oil and that of Gas, with their enormous potentials, it is time to walk the talk, making these visible potentials translate to wealth.
Nigeria suffers from energy poverty, despite the fact that we have abundance of oil and gas reserves. And I've always contended in anywhere I go that this abundance of reserves haven't translated to economic prosperity.
The gas industry, with abundant proven reserve of more than 208 trillion cubic feet and further exploration potentials, is crucial for enhancing energy security. With the proven reserves, Nigeria has no business with energy poverty.
Key industry players are optimistic that with commitment and collaboration, the vast opportunities in changing energy mix can be a win-win.
As we all know, and it's clearly so, there's a very clear connection between energy security and national security, anywhere in the world.
This gathering is on the page of proactively navigating the new energy world together towards realizing a sustainable energy security and energy mix that is just for all. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
And away from energy development, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, said the federal government will exercise its rights within the country's laws to contain rogue actions that want to destabilize national security and the nation's hard-earned democracy. The minister in a statement debunked a news report of a coup scare in the country, stressing that the report is unequivocally false and is a heinous act of disinformation. He urged the public to exercise discernment and refrain from spreading or amplifying the unfounded report, which has been strategically planted on some compromised news platforms to subvert the nation's democracy. Idris said the government would neither be distracted nor intimidated into abandoning the ongoing reforms aimed at rejuvenating the economy and creating a pathway of prosperity for the citizenry. The Federal Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology says it is committed to improve innovative skills that can help accelerate social and economic growth of the country. These came to the fore at the inauguration of the Administrative Block and Analytical Laboratory of the Federal Institute of Industrial Research for Northeast Zone in Yola, the Adamawa State Capital. Yusuf Jika reports.
The Federal Institute of Industrial Research, Oshodi, is a foremost center for science and technology-based research and development for industrialization and promoting market-driven research for the development of the nation. The institute over the years became a vital tool for promoting and enhancing technology-driven research, thereby putting the nation on the path of industrialization. The Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Uche Naji, represented by the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry, Usoabana Asanye, at the inauguration of the Northeast Office of the Institute, said science and technology is the basis for any meaningful development. She expressed the commitment of the Ministry to ensure that all the policies and programs of the Institute are geared towards advancing the course of development in line with the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
The Ministry is helping to make sure that the financial, the health, agricultural, every aspect of our economy is being improved through science and technology.
Director General and Chief Executive Officer, Institute of Industrial Research, Jumai Tutu Adamu, said the office will serve as an innovation hub to the people of Northeast region with a view to advancing their technological skills as well as harness mineral and material resources.
We have over the years developed technologies that promoted the ideas of entrepreneurship development. This prompted us to take development to all the nooks and crannies of the country.
Deputy Governor Adamawa State, Professor Kaletapa Farota George, lauded the foresight of the ministry for establishing zonal offices in the country, describing it as critical to the nation building.
I'm also pleased that Adamawa State is also driving a lot of food issues.
The Northeast Zonal Office of the Institute of Industrial Research has been operating on a temporary site, but with the provision of this edifice fully equipped with state-of-the-art facilities, much is expected from the institute. In Yola, Yusuf Jika, NTA News.
And time now to join Adiola in Lagos for happenings from that zone. Over to you, Adiola. Good evening. Adiola, good evening.
Thank you, Olajide, and a very good evening to you too. 107 bank accounts containing 119 million naira belonging to 14 suspected drug peddlers in connection with the single largest seizure of heroin at the Muritala Muhammad International Airport, Command Ikeja, and other parts of Lagos Metropolis have been frozen by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA. Chairman and Chief Executive Officer Brigadier General Muhammad Buba Marwa, retired, disclosed this at a media briefing in Lagos. Diana Ajali has that report.
It all started February 10, 2024, when the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency operatives at the Muritala Muhammad International Airport Command, Ikeja, intercepted a suspicious package at the Sako import shed at the cargo terminal. 3 blocks of high-grade heroin consignment was concealed in 15 cartons of 2,300 watt metal cutting machines. The agency also recovered 45 blocks of the illicit substances weighing 49.7 kilograms after investigation, and arrested a freight agent identified as Olowo Lagba Wasiu Babatunde, hired for clearing services by Mat P Logistics, a company operated by one Mr. Kola, a South African resident. The agency, in another raid, searched the company's warehouse in Shogule area of Oshodi, and 56 similar cartons of cutting machines previously used as modes of concealment to ferry heroin into Nigeria were also seized.
By the time we were done exploring various leads we had unraveled an organized criminal network that operates in South Africa, Mozambique, Nigeria, parts of Europe, and America.
The NDLA boss, Brigadier General Muhammad Buba Marwa, said the various seizures and arrests were made possible by the agency's Special Task Force due diligence and with the help of closed-circuit television (CCTV).
This measure has also yielded further fruit, as a female member of the syndicate and wife to one of the kingpins living outside the country was arrested.
Apart from the suspects being arrested, property including the Golden Platinum Hotel and Suites in Agor Palace, linked to one Reginald Peter Chidibiri, and a mansion belonging to one Festus Ibukwe, a South African resident, have been marked for forfeiture. The NDLEA boss has also appreciated the synergy of other agencies in the fight against drug trafficking. In Lagos, Diana Ajale, NTA News.
A few days of rain in the city of Lagos has already caused flooding in 7 communities. This development, according to NEMA, is a clear indication of what might happen when the rainy season starts fully. Larry Bilei reports that environmentalists believe early preparation should be in top gear to mitigate flood disasters in the state.
Rapidly expands due to its growing population, thereby overstretching existing infrastructure. The increasing demand to maintain its waterways and drainage channels compounded by sea level rise often brings about severe annual flooding, especially during rainy season. Some communities have recorded disruptions in their socio-economic life due to flooding. Environmentalists say a proactive environment management plan is key to mitigating tales of woe caused by flooding each year, and the first step is preparing for the rainy season.
The local governments have what we call flood abatements gang in each of the local governments. This gang have to be regularly mandated or mobilized or activated to move to various neighborhoods to clear drainages, which will have overwhelmed the resident. We have collector drainages. These collector drainages are the responsibility of the flood abatement gang to clear.
A mega city like Lagos should, for now, because it can only grow bigger in the city, now a proper environmental reassessment, environmental re-evaluation, because the more people flock to Lagos, the more challenges the city throws up. And one of them are plural environmental challenges.
Although Lagos State government has initiated structured plans to tackle issues of flooding, the main cause of flooding has not really been dealt with. In Lagos, Larry Bilei, NTA News.
And that does it from this end. The network news will continue after this break. Please stay.
Glad to know you're still there. In compliance with the directive of the Minister of Education, the National Commission for Almagirian Out-of-School Children is in a robust engagement with agencies under the ministry and international partners to avoid duplication of duties and synergize in its quest to enroll millions of out-of-school children. Executive Secretaries of National Commission for Nomadic Education and National Commission for Mass Literacy, Adult and Non-Formal Education are key players into discussions, while United Nations Student Fund UNICEF Education Officer in Nigeria is understanding the right step to take in intervening to rescue vulnerable children.
For too long, the lack of reliable data and potential overlap in mandate among various agencies within the ministry have hindered our collective efforts. It is imperative that we come to a mutual understanding on who should handle what.
Cooperation and synergy where we crisscross one another.
NMEC will support this initiative to ensure that we don't play conflicting roles, but complementary roles, and therefore improve our national development.
The good news is that Nigeria has very good homegrown solutions. It's always government in the lead, government and its agencies, and we're in the background to support.
Inauguration, the National Commission for Almagirian Out-of-School Children has hosted more than 5 bodies who have shown commitment to the cause of neglected deplorable learning conditions. Another break beckons. NTA Network News continues shortly. And that's it on the Network News. Many thanks for being a part of it. I am Olajide Bello.